Hello everyone, this is NainaMD, Beverly Hills. Welcome to my show, Fusion of Science and Beauty. And as you know, my passion is to talk about anti-aging medicine, integrative medicine, and all the latest greatest. Today, I've got a guest, Dr. Payam Hakimi, and he's an integrative medical doctor right here in Beverly Hills who does a lot of homeopathy. And as you know, very few people really understand what homeopathy is all about. Dr. Payam Hakimi, how are you today?
Great, Naina. How are you?
So, I know you've come on my show before. We kind of talked about allergies, but today I really want to talk about homeopathy. There is a trend worldwide that is starting to raise controversy about integrative medicine, homeopathy and so forth. And I really want to focus on the homeopathy. First of all, I really want the audience to get educated is what is homeopathy? What is the history of homeopathy? Right? How long? I mean, it's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, the idea of homeopathy has been there for a long time, more than 1,000 or 2,000 years, because the founder of homeopathy, Hahnemann, actually started reading about it around 250 years ago, and then he started coming up with this idea of homeopathy, and that's how it started. Mm-hmm. So the idea about it has been there in the history of medicine as well. Homeopathy itself started around 250 years ago by Hahnemann. And the whole idea was Hahnemann decided or knew that everything around his time, all the medical treatments were a little bit toxic. And if you remember back in the days, we used to use ether and alcohol and mercury, yes, and so
all the toxic elements.
Right. And so he used natural substances in a very diluted amount, just so that it can encourage the body to do something, as opposed to make the body an antibiotic, antiviral. So instead of making the body a battlefield of things together, he wanted to encourage the body to actually be able to work towards health.
Yeah. And why are we starting to see such a controversy about homeopathy? You've heard what's happening in London. They're trying to, there's several political institutions that are just saying, look, we just want to abolish homeopathy altogether. This is part of the curriculum. This was part of in France, this was part of the medical school curriculum to learn about homeopathy. Why is that happening?
Yeah, and also in the United States we have the Hahnemann School of Medicine now, which, yes, back in the days was obviously a homeopathic school. So homeopathy, because of the fact that we thought there's no science behind it, a lot of scientists, a lot of physicians had a little bit of an issue with it. But now, as of 3-4 years ago, and even beyond that, but the last 3-4 years, there's so much research that's coming out about homeopathy. Because remember, the research of homeopathic medications with regular medications are completely different.
Yes.
Whereas you can do double-blinded studies with medicine, you cannot do the same thing with homeopathy. But homeopathy.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because of the way you're going to have a control and your study groups. Homeopathy, as we're going to talk about.
That's what I want to talk, exactly.
Right,
I want you to explain that, yes.
So homeopathy uses specific symptoms, yes, to prescribe a medication, as opposed to medicine where we say there's pain, we can investigate different pain medications together. Mm-hmm. For the same issue. But in homeopathy, we're going to talk about later on anxiety and stress and sleep problems. Yes. Each specific symptom will have its own medication. So it's really hard to do a double-blinded
yes,
study.
Yes.
But for the past 3-4 years, there's so much research that has come out about homeopathy that's amazing. I was actually presenting myself to the 5th International Homeopathic Congress in Chicago last year, mm-hmm, and we had Dr. Peter Fisher, who's the homeopath, yes, too, the Queen, him, who was here, and he showed us so much research about homeopathy that's out there, and that has created a little bit of a challenge for the scientists and the medical system that thought that homeopathy has no science behind it. Now there is science behind it. So a controversy has started. but I don't think it's going to go anywhere, or just because there's so much.
Well, I think, and also I think people are demanding it. They want other alternatives. They know that the traditional model is not working any longer. And by the way, when you talk about the double-blind placebo studies and so forth, I as a mathematician know that, and even especially in today's model, when health knowledge and the health technology is in such a revolutionary phase, meaning we're advancing so rapidly that even that model of study model is outdated, is becoming outdated.
That's very true.
And we can't rely on those, because by the time 20 years goes by doing a study, we are evolving and we're integrating ourselves. As you know, we're getting bionic eyes, we're getting, different parts. We don't even know if the species, as we know of humans, is going to be human in
Right.
20 to 30 years. So it's such the two things are becoming very incongruent with each other, and there's a dichotomy happening. And I think that's what's causing people to really get interested in their own health, and they're saying, I have to look for another ways or means of getting myself healthy.
So as you said, health is very important, and we know a lot of our patients are now looking for things that are encouraging their health, as opposed to trying to find ways of decreasing their disease. They want to actually have their immunity, which is better, their sleep, which is better. They want their energy to be higher, because in reality, if our energy is high, we're sleeping good, and our immunity is high, are we going to get sick a lot? We're not. We can exercise.
Right.
If you exercise, your hypertension gets better or goes away. Your
Yes.
obesity goes away. Cholesterol goes away. So a lot of things are tied into, let's get ourselves healthy. Let's go out there and have, workouts, yoga classes, and drinking as much water as we can, which is one of the first things that we forget.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And what is it? How is homeopathy, let's say in terms of, before we get really into specifics, how is homeopathy able to look at, for example, let's say the immunity picture, okay? We can say it can be due to a lot of things. And so that's really what homeopathy does, right? It looks at a lot of the bases. For example, lack of sleep can affect your immunity, right?
Right.
So if we go and give something in homeopathy that helps with the sleep, indirectly or directly, it's going to help with the immunity, right? So there's a lot
Absolutely.
of, in other words, it's not vertical, right? In medicine, conventional medicine, things are vertical. Let's say maybe you're having a rapid heartbeat, then you go to a cardiologist or a heart specialist, right? And they start doing all these tests and they find something, but it's isolated. Then you're having stomach issues, but nobody's trying to relate, right? That perhaps you could be having anxiety, that's why you're having the rapid heartbeat, and then you're also having digestion problems because you could be anxious, and maybe your whole underlying issue is anxiety, right? So no one is looking at the terrain, so to speak. And this is where I think the conventional medicine and integrative medicine are now a little different, because it used to be that the most important aspect what a person could do is get a skill and become vertical. The more specialized we became in medicine, or the more specialized we became in a field, the more valuable we became.
Right.
But now that's not true. It's almost like we need to know what the terrain is, the more horizontal, and how things are inter-affecting everything. That's the understanding, right?
Well, it seems like at first medicine was looking at the whole picture.
Yes.
And then as medicine evolved, we started having cardiology got separated and endocrinology got separated. So everything started sort of separating and evolving, just because there's so much knowledge, as you said, that's coming out, that it needs someone who will dedicate themselves to the heart only or to the kidneys only, right? So it's always good to have someone to actually sit down and look at everything else, and that's why we have our primary care doctors, your family physicians. I'm myself a family physician, and internal medicine doctors.
Yeah.
The issue is there's not enough time in a family medicine doctor to look at everything that a person, because 15 minutes a patient basically does not give enough time to look at the heart and the kidney and all the medications and everything.
But also, isn't also part of the reason that people are going to specialists? What if you just started looking at the imbalances, right? Before they even present as a disease model, like for example, gastrointestinal imbalances, neurotransmitter imbalances,
Absolutely.
right? So if we gut imbalances, immune system imbalances, hormone imbalances.
Absolutely.
So if we start to look at it in this way, this is where homeopathy starts to sort of gain its ground, correct?
Exactly. So a trip to a homeopathic physician actually gets a lot of information, because our evaluation takes a lot longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, what's a typical, for example, let's say a typical visit to the homeopathic doctor. What's that going to entail?
It's an average of an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and sometimes longer.
Yeah.
And during all that time, we're figuring out all these terrains that you're talking about. What's going on with the GI system? What's going on with the lungs? What's the sleep like? What's the energy like? What's the inflammatory markers in the body? How are this person working behaviorally, emotionally? How's their sleep? So all of that is sort of a part of a bigger picture. And sometimes it's as easy as, let's have the patient sleep better, and their anxiety will get better, their memory will be better, they'll have energy is going to be different, they're going to get to exercise that. So sometimes all it takes is to sort of mimic the physiology a little bit here and there, and that's all a patient needs to start sort of coming back online.
Yeah, yeah. What have you, how did you make the switch from doing family medicine, right, and then saying, look, I'm going to search, or I'm going to go? How did you make that switch from doing just family medicine and then the homeopathy? How did you?
So there is not absolutely a switch. I'm always a family medicine. I'm board certified family medicine, and so I understand the basics of what happens with someone's body. Mm-hmm. And I understand if they come to me from other doctors, I know what is it that the other doctors have done specifically, if it's a cardiologist or even a patient is coming from an urgent care, for me to see them. So I appreciate what has happened to them to get there. But then I ask a lot more questions. When did it start? How did it start? After what? And then what happened? And so it's a lot more of questioning to figure out. I always tell my patients it's a puzzle. The more pieces of the puzzle I put together, the better picture I have from your body, from your history, from your past, all the medications you've taken. If I can put all that together, it's much easier to figure out what's wrong and then go there and fix it.
And that's probably one of the decisions that probably, that's why you went into an addition, said, okay, I'm going to learn about homeopathy, because that's exactly what it does.
Exactly. It gives me a lot more questioning. It gives me a lot more understanding of the patient. So my questioning has a medical questioning, but then there's also homeopathic questioning involved. There's also integrated medicine. So it just takes a lot more from the patient in.
Right. How do people look you up? I mean, in terms of seeking you and so forth. I know you practice in your same area as me, do Beverly Hills. Right. But how do people look you up?
We are, they can Google Body of Harmony or my name, Dr. Payam Hakimi, Hakimi. But the best way is just to go. Website is bodyofharmony.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. I guess that we have to be, right?
Fabulous.
They can find us. You can find us. We can. It's very easy to just to leave us with that. It's very easy to balance out.
I love the name, the Body of Harmony, right?
Right.
How'd you think of it?
It was just something that came up as I was reading a book about anatomy.
Yeah. So listen, we're going to be right back with Dr. Payam Hakimi. This is NainaMD, Beverly Hills, Fusion of Science and Beauty. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back to my show. This is NainaMD, Beverly Hills, Fusion of Science and Beauty. And I have with me Dr. Payam Hakimi. He's an integrative doctor, family medicine doctor, and homeopathic doctor. And we were just talking about the importance of homeopathy, correct?
Yes.
And, you know, again, there is so much that's happening, and so many millions and millions of people now are looking for alternatives, different ways to heal themselves back to health. And one of the three most probably complaints, at least that I hear about, and tell me if you hear about them too, is like, I'm really stressed and I'm feeling really anxious a lot of the times, and I am not sleeping right. Right?
And I'm tired.
And I'm tired, right? It's always those variants, or just four things. They're usually, I think 99.9% of my clients will say, definitely 1, 2, or all.
That's
okay?
very true.
And we also have to be aware of that 1 in 5 people have opioid addiction issues. We have 1 in 3 that actually are in either on a sleeping medication and anxiety medication, energy, they're seeking some sort of an energy enhancing either supplement or medication, and also they're taking something for stress.
Right.
So why is that? What's going on?
So we have a lot on our planes. We have a lot on our plates.
Why? But why? Okay, we've been around, right, for thousands of years.
Right.
Why we have now a lot on our plate?
So we have families that are working, husband and wife are working and the kids are running around, and then there's taking the kid here and then, going to work and coming back. Even our drive is stressful right now. And I tell my patients, in my office, I say how much stress you have, and some of them say, no stressful life. I said, so driving to work, coming back home, none of that stresses you. So there are a lot of stuff that actually stresses us that it has just become part of life that we're not even looking at anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So those are continually having us release hormones, adrenal hormones. We have all these hormones that are helping us, or they were supposed to help us to be able to be more active and do things. Mm-hmm. And now we're sitting behind a car and we're getting stressed out. Where is this hormone going to go? Still got to be in your body, right? Yeah. So it's going to act sometime. When you get home and you want to try to sleep, you can't sleep anymore because hormones are off balance. The activating hormones and stimulating hormones are going to be higher, so it's going to be really hard to sleep. Or we have the part of patients that say, well, I sleep okay, but I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and then I can't go back to sleep.
Yeah, very common. That's
right?
A very common complaint.
So it's just our lifestyle that has changed. And I don't think there's much we can do about our lifestyle other than let's yoga and let's meditate and let's exercise, right? But
where do we? That's the whole idea. Is when you're having when your whole day is filled with 8 or 10 hours of just sheer stress of driving and job demands are getting more, and then spousal demands and children demands. It leaves less time to even address those things. We know the answers, but to reach for those answers is even so difficult, isn't it?
Very true.
Yeah.
So we start by asking patients about their sleep. Yeah. I'm really big in sleep because I believe if my patients sleep, a lot of their issues are going to go away. They're going to have more energy. They're going to have more immunity. They're going to have more patience of even talking to their spouse or talking to their kids and everything else, and that makes their life easier because the more elements of this stress you pick out, the better someone's life is going to be. So we always start from sleep. We always fix the sleep first.
And majority of your patients have some issues with sleep?
I would say yes, 8 or 9 out of 10 people have issues with sleep. Again, either they can't sleep, they go to bed late because they have something to do, or they don't want to go to bed because they know they're not going to sleep. And then those that wake up either 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and are up for an hour or two, and those who instead of getting at 7 o'clock, their alarm goes up at 7, but they're up at 5 or they're at 6 and they can't sleep. And they have the anxiety of, what am I going to do? I'm not getting enough rest, therefore I'm going to be tired during the day as well.
Mm-hmm. What do you give homeopathy to address the anxiety that's coming maybe from the lack of sleep, or to address the sleep, or to address the tiredness maybe because they're not sleeping? How do you choose the right homeopathy regimen, so to speak?
So the good thing about homeopathy is it brings all of that into account. So once we have our interview with the patient, we figure out when do they go to sleep, why is it that they can't sleep, or why is it that they wake up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, how does that affect them during the day? And then we try to match that with homeopathic medications that can help them when they sleep, the anxiety of falling asleep, the anxiety of getting up early, and the anxiety of what I have to do the next day. So we try to manage all of that either with 1 or 2 homeopathic medication. And the good thing about it is, obviously, homeopathic medications don't leave you groggy in the morning. It's different than the Ambien, the Xanax, the Benadryl, and everything that we use. Once we wake up in the morning, it feels like we can't even move. And we have that with we hear that from a lot of our patients.
A lot of people will say, they said, it helps me to sleep, but in the morning, I can barely get up because it's still the side effects from the medication, correct? Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and homeopathy, I've used it too. On my clients, there's very little side effects. They do not feel that way. Yet, but it takes a little time. So let's talk about the treatment itself. Sometimes the duration of the treatment can take, or to see the results, can take a little bit longer than perhaps a medication that you would just give in, that would try to have an effect in like a couple of days.
Most of the time with homeopathic medication, we can get the patient to have a reaction within the first 2 or 3 days. What's tough is if someone is on Xanax or Ambien or any sleeping agent, and we want to move them from those sleeping agents, because once you move sleeping agents, obviously, or remove it, what happens is the patient gets stimulated and they have a hard time falling asleep, right?
Yeah.
So if we try to do both of these at the same time, it becomes a little bit tricky because we have to manage the stimulus effect of removing these sleep agents, and then we have to help with homeopathy. So sometimes that takes a little bit longer. But if I have a patient who just hasn't been on medications and their sleep is off, it's very easy within the first week, even the first 3-4 days, to help them sleep.
And how do you see, do you do any other body work along with the homeopathy? Because you're also into osteopathy, and I think there's an importance for that as well. Do you combine the treatments at all, or do you do any other things at the Body of Harmony Center?
So most of my evaluations and treatments have 3 aspects. They have the medical, they have the homeopathic, and they have the osteopathic. So let's say we have someone who has back pain or neck pain, and anytime they roll in bed, they wake up just because they have that neck pain, or they have that headache, or they have the neck pain that's causing the headache. So what we do in our practice is, with manipulation and movement of the joints and the bones and the muscles, we take care of the pain parts so that they can actually sleep better, and then add a homeopathic medication, and that completely changes a patient's pattern of sleep. Yeah. So osteopathy is a very big part of our practice. Osteopathy, cranial osteopathy, or what people know as craniosacral therapy, is a very big part of our practice as well. And there are studies that show that manipulating the cranium itself actually relaxes a patient as well, and that gives them a much easier way of falling asleep as well.
So in other words, if combined treatments can be even more effective than just one treatment alone.
That has been the goal of our practice, decreasing the amount of medications or toxins in the body, and adding yoga, exercise, manipulation of the body, homeopathic medications and supplements, along with removing toxins and inflammation, just to make sure that our patients are sleeping better, having more energy, and have less toxins in their body. Are
there homeopathic medications that can also remove toxins in the body?
There are homeopathic medications that can help with removing toxins in the body, as long as we encourage the liver and the lymphatic systems. That's sort of the beginning of how we can remove toxins from the body.
What else can you, in terms of homeopathy, where do you see, if you had all the conditions that you were to look at, where would you see homeopathy helping the most in? I know that's a difficult question, but yeah.
It's very difficult just also because of the fact that there is so many different things that each practice sees.
Yes.
My practice sees a lot of the exhausted, the tired, lack of sleep, and body aches and pain, although we're running and we're working and we're doing everything that we can. So a lot of the time it's basically building this structure back up completely. And doing so, I've used homeopathic medications, as you said, with helping drainage and detoxifying and sleep, stress, anxiety. So just removing all the elements that's taking someone from doing everything that they want to do during the day.
So you walk the talk. So, and I know you travel a lot. How do you take care of yourself? How do you, give me a typical day in your life. Like when you're traveling, you see numerous amount of, your clients, and you're always on the go. You teach. So how are you able to keep that pace, and how do you walk that talk? What do you, for example, we want to know what you eat, and how do you spend a day?
I have an amazing wife that cooks the best food, and then she takes care of me completely. So we wake up in the morning, we exercise as many days as possible, obviously 3-4 days is probably the max. Then we have our coconut oils. We have our healthy breakfast as much as we can. Sometimes it's just a coffee and run again for us as well.
Yeah.
Eating healthy, trying to exercise as much as possible.
What are some of your go-to must-haves in terms of everyday foods that you absolutely think, that you have to, like, they're your go-to foods?
We definitely
If you were stranded on an island, what would you must have?
Coconut oil, coconut butter, lots of oils, lots of vegetables, and then meat. I do meat to stay energetic. Otherwise, I lose my energy. So it's a lot of.
So when you say
oils,
when you say oils, are they just like coconut oil that you would just add in like protein shakes, or you just consume the oils?
Sometimes it's just 1 teaspoon or tablespoon as soon as I wake up, and then drinking water right on top of that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes adding it to oatmeals. Mm-hmm. And then oils at lunch would be olive oil, avocado oil, sesame seed oil. Just add it to the salad that we have. Mm-hmm. And at night it's almost the same. Just, we get home, we do our practices that we have to do, and then meditate sometimes if we get a chance. And then there's dinner, mm-hmm. and that's it.
How often do you meditate in a week?
Almost 5 times.
And what do you define as meditation? Everyone has a different concept of meditation, and I think it's important for the audience to understand what meditation really is. A lot of people ask me, they don't know what meditation is.
Meditation is anything that you connect to and can. For me, obviously, as you said, there are different meanings of it. Anything that you can connect to and you can stay with for a while. A lot of the times it's just exercising. As you're exercising, if you're completely connected to your body and all the muscles you're working and know that you're doing this for your health, that's meditating. Sometimes it's just sitting there and not thinking about anything. Yeah. And sometimes it's there and thinking about a specific goal that we have in mind. Mm-hmm. And just spending that much time. There's another practice which is just walking around every day for 5 minutes, just walking around, trying not to think at all, and just stay with the walk. As you walk, it is your meditation. It's what you're feeling, it's happening to your body, that is your meditation.
So it's really trying to connect with your inner self, really. That's what's so important.
Yeah, continually.
Yeah. So listen, thank you so much. This has been an amazing show, because I really wanted people to understand that homeopathy is not something that lacks science, right? That's really what we want to leave everyone with, that it has so much science, and it's so important that for everyone to realize that common ailments that we depend on medications like insomnia, not being able to sleep, fatigue, stress, anxiety, these can all be treated with homeopathic medications very effectively. Right?
Thank you very much.
And where's your website?
www.bodyofharmony.com. Bodyofharmony.com.
All right. Thank you so much
again. Thank you for your show. It's great.
This has been NainaMD, Beverly Hills, Fusion of Science and Beauty. We'll be back next week with a fabulous show again.